Welcome to the Misquamicut Beach Podcast, a podcast spotlighting the businesses, newsmakers, events, and memories of Rhode Island's historic Misquamicut Beach.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Misquamicut Beach Podcast. My name is Ben Barber. I'm your host for the show. This is a really big episode. Today we have Tim Brennan from Two Little Fish, who is a fantastic human being, as well as a great business owner in Misquamicut Beach. And we are talking about all of the things that Two Little Fish and Tim himself are doing for the environment. Two Little Fish, almost 7 years ago now, started their goal to become plastic free. And that's just one of the many things that they're doing. He now serves on the advisory committee for the governor as far as environmental initiatives go. And I mean, we talk about everything from donating some of their proceeds to Mystic Aquarium for marine rehabilitation, to finding utensils that are not only biodegradable but compostable. And he actually doesn't go a lot into the difference of that in the episode, but then we talked for another 20 minutes afterwards so he could tell me exactly what is so great about these compostable materials. So biodegradable is, it will eventually disintegrate. It will eventually go back into the earth, into plant material. However, compostable is insanely different. These forks and knives, under the right conditions in a landfill, will disappear within like 120 days. That is the kind of amazing stuff that he's doing, and they're doing it at, he goes into it, they're doing it at things that aren't advantageous for them profit wise, which I think is just fantastic. It's really altruistic and wonderful. And so we have a great conversation with Tim Brennan, and this was a special day at the beach because town leaders and officials were coming to Two Little Fish to meet with Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Senator Whitehouse is a huge, he's sort of famous for giving a climate change speech once a week on the Senate floor, and a big champion of these sorts of issues. And so he came to sit and listen to everything that the advisory board had to say and the town officials had to say, and Tim about what was going on at Two Little Fish in Misquamicut and the greater Westerly area. And then at the end of the episode, I actually got a chance to talk to Senator Whitehouse, along with Dale Faulkner from the Westerly Sun, and we got to pick his brain a little bit about what he saw and what he thinks about what's going on in Westerly. So that's it, and this is one of my favorite episodes that we've done so far. And without further ado, here is Tim Brennan. Okay, so I'm here with Tim Brennan at Two Little Fish, which is just the coolest place, the coolest restaurant at the beach. Not only, does it have legendary great food, but there are so many other reasons. And we had a full interview last year with Tim where he talked about the history of Two Little Fish and all of that stuff. But the last 5 minutes, he decided to tell me about all of the environmental stuff that they did, which is amazing and what I really wanted to cover with him once I knew about it. So we're here today, and it's kind of a special day here at Two Little Fish for all of that. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. So tell me a little bit about the steps that you guys have taken to be more environmentally friendly and sustainable and all of that stuff.
Okay, well, it all started, it can be summed up with two words, and those two words are Superstorm Sandy. When Superstorm Sandy hit, Misquamicut Beach was the hardest place that was hit in Rhode Island. The devastation down here was pretty extreme. entire buildings were lost. The town beach condominiums were lost. Sam's restaurant was lost. The Ride a Wave surf shop right next to me had 5 feet of sand inside of it. It took. We were actually more fortunate than most. We still had 4 walls and a roof after it was all over. What we did was, as everyone knows, tons of volunteers poured into the beach area to help us rebuild, to help individual homeowners and everything salvage their belongings, salvage their buildings. Businesses benefited from that volunteer effort as well. As a vice president of the Misquamicut Business Association, I ran a checkpoint out here where I coordinated volunteers. I would issue them safety gear. I would issue them equipment. They would sign release waivers, and then I would lead them out, each day to do whatever job was assigned to us. So we ripped up carpeting. We removed rotten furniture. We cleaned canals. We shoveled sand. We cleaned up broken and smashed decks. But the common theme in all of this was I was always wondering, why did this happen and how did this happen? And, we're all familiar with global warming. We're all familiar with sea level rise. But when you're actually in the middle of a catastrophe, you think to yourself, well, how could I have prevented this in any small way whatsoever? So what happened was we decided to do something on our own. And so what we did was, the first thing that we did was actually mandated by the state. And that was, we had to put in a brand new septic system. And that septic system had to be of a particular type, a wastewater treatment system called a nitrogen system. And since we are Two Little Fish here are between a coastal feature and a barrier beach, the coastal feature being Winnapaug Pond, we had to put in this special wastewater treatment system. The Department of Health says that we must be single service, which means we can't have traditional flatware, dishes, dishwashing, because they don't want us to discharge harmful chemicals into the environment. So what we did was we have to have disposable dining. So with the wastewater treatment system that we have, it's specifically designed to limit our nitrogen emissions, because nitrogen emissions encourage weed growth in the pond behind us, which in turn threatens the habitat of the native species that live there. So that was the hard part. That was the expensive part. The rest started to fall in place over time. We gave ourselves a timeline to do things. And that timeline was, approximately 3 to 5 years. So the first things that we did were the easiest, the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. We got rid of all plastic bags immediately. No plastic bags. We just used plain paper grocery sacks. We got rid of plastic straws. We have paper straws. We certainly got rid of all styrofoam. We don't use any styrofoam products whatsoever. Some of this we had already done prior to that, but with our new commitment, we decided to redouble our efforts. One of the things that we also decided to do was look into compostable cutlery. And compostable cutlery, the forks, the knives, and the spoons, was a harder issue to solve. We had already moved all of our plates and bowls and lids and things like that over to recycled compostable paper pulp products. So that was no problem. But what we ran into the fact that the items in question were very expensive. Like a case of plastic forks these days will run you about $14 for 1,000, for example. Now, when I first looked into switching over after Superstorm Sandy, that same case of forks ran about $100 for the same amount. Clearly, that's out of the reach of most small businesses. But over time, as technology has advanced and demand has grown, prices have fallen. And so right now, that same case runs about $45. And that's something I can handle. So it was about 2 years ago, about 2 or 3 years into that 5-year plan, that we decided to make the switch. We did it without raising our prices, so it did not affect the consumer at all. And ever since then, the public reaction has been overwhelmingly positive.
That's still quite a that's still over 3 times more, a little over 3 times more for the plastic, for the recyclable, compostable products, which is still a large commitment and like something that's commendable because it's easier to not do it. It's 3 times easier not to do it financially for that. So that's a huge commitment that, like you said, it's worth it. But it's something that so many people wouldn't do, and I think that as far as a lot of this stuff goes, Superstorm Sandy was 7 years ago now, so you were quite a few years ahead of the curve when we talk about people being really conscious about plastic bags and styrofoam and plastic cutlery and all of this stuff, so much so that now the town of Westerly is, getting rid of plastic bags in stores and all of that stuff. So how do you feel about sort of being a pioneer in the eco-friendly area in town?
Well, we did it originally, like I said, because, Superstorm Sandy was just such an epiphany. We don't really count the cost. I mean, there is a famous quote, we do not do these things because they are easy. We do these things because they are hard. And there's a lot to be said for that kind of thing. I mean, we simply did what we thought was best. And when you're doing what you think is best, you don't so much count the cost. I mean, it's flattering that people might see it that way, but really that's not the way that we look at it. I mean, we decided what we should do is link all that with other environmental initiatives that we've undertaken. For example, for the past 2 years, we have had a partnership with Mystic Aquarium, where we sponsor their animal rescue clinic. A portion of every meal sold at Two Little Fish, for example, we donate to the animal rescue team, which rescues and rehabilitates injured marine and animals, rehabilitates and then releases them. All this eventually came to the attention of, in terms of the plastic, reducing single-use plastics, attention to the governor of Rhode Island. And she invited me to serve on a task force focusing on reduction of single-use plastics. I was the subcommittee chair of the Lead by Example Committee. And, that is something that showed the dedication of the state. They've finally really gotten the idea that something has to be done to reduce plastics. It was, as a matter of fact, it was instrumental being on that committee that the state has no longer hands out plastic bags at the state beach. There's dumpsters down there, courtesy of the leadership of the Misquamicut Business Association, and no longer is 20,000 plastic bags a year being handed out at Misquamicut. And I think that's fantastic. Another thing that was accomplished through that committee is we have decided to, I advocated for it and it was approved. Everyone's familiar with the Adopt the Highway signs when you're going down the freeway. I suggested to DEM and the governor, why do we not have an Adopt a Beach program? Adopt a Park program. And they kind of looked at each other and looked at myself and said, why don't we have that program? So now that program is in the works. And what I recently did, small business is a lot more agile and a lot more fast acting than big government. So what I did was I coordinated with the town of Westerly at Misquamicut Beach over there, across the street from me, and Two Little Fish provided a grant to the town of Westerly Recreation Department, which goes for litter control and beautification of that beach. The grant monies are administered by the town. They've done planting and mulching and things like that. And also monies are used for litter control, where a nonprofit comes in and picks up the beach. So it's a good example of private business, nonprofits, and government coming together to get something done to keep our beaches clean. Today is sort of a special day that we just kind of happened on for this interview. But a whole bunch of people are coming down to check out
the stuff that you're doing here at Two Little Fish and some projects going on in Misquamicut, like the Eco Trail and stuff that we'll talk about in a second. But Senator Sheldon Whitehouse will be here, in just about an hour from now. What are you expecting from today, and how do you feel about the attention that the business and the area, and you specifically, are getting from sort of the upper leadership in the state?
It can only benefit the region as a whole. Mr. Whitehouse, the senator, he sent me a letter after I was named to the governor's task force, congratulating me on that, and he said that it was an issue that was near and dear to his heart. So I took him at his word for that, and I contacted his office and invited him down so he could see, what we're doing here at Two Little Fish, a small family business. If we can do this, then certainly big business can do this. And I also wanted him to see and showcase what the larger beach community here in Westerly at Misquamicut has done to improve the environment. The Westerly Town Beach has installed free sunscreen. It's reef safe. It does not bleach or destroy coral reefs. I mean, we sponsored that as well as with the town. We funded the dispensers. Two Little Fish did. We wanted to showcase the fact that we are working with DEM on trash issues and technology to solve this type of problem. And I think it only benefits the whole. The more we show that we care, that the town cares, that private businesses care, nonprofits care, private citizens care. I mean, that can only work to the benefit of the environment. It can only work to the benefit of all of us.
Tell me a little bit about the Eco Trail that's going to go behind you, correct?
Correct. The Eco Trail is something that has been long considered a priority down here at Misquamicut, at least by the Misquamicut Business Association and other people. We wanted to showcase, in my opinion, the pond is like the hidden treasure of Misquamicut. There's only a few access points to it. It's largely hidden. People really don't appreciate a lot of the beauty of it. The Eco Trail is designed to, get people safely from one end of the beach to the other, so they don't have to walk along a crowded road at night in the dark with no street lights. And number two, it's also meant to showcase our beautiful pond and the environment and the species and animals that live there. So the pond will the trail will start down around Patty's Bayside lot. There will be dedicated parking. There will be a roundabout down there. It will extend along the bayside of Atlantic Avenue, and it will eventually end and dump out right near Two Little Fish at the side of the Ride-A-Wave surf shop. There will be an accompanying bike path, and there will be observation points along the way. It is my hope that eventually we can install signage there as well, where we can explain things about the salt pond, how it operates, how it works, things that are natural about it. It's something that is long been, like I said, it was first the idea of George Tattersall, who was a past president. And over the years, it's received attention. But, as one official leaves, you kind of have to start over with the next group. But finally, the town and DEM and Coastal Resources and the governor's office and the office of the lieutenant governor and the Misquamicut Business Association and the general public have all gotten together. And miracle of miracles, we all agree that it should go forward. Monies have been spent, plans have been laid, and it will become a reality. The governor said she would devote state resources to it. The lieutenant governor said he would seek to find funds for it out of the state trails fund, which funds trails and things like that, meant to explore the natural habitat of the state. So things are looking up, and we're very excited about it.
Would you ever run for office for anything?
Probably not.
I feel like I have to ask that question. I mean, you're whatever it was, you'd have my vote right now. This is this is all amazing stuff. A lot of my questions you just led into naturally, which is fantastic. So now I just want to end with talking about what an amazing place Two Little Fish is. Everybody I know looks forward to coming down here. And the best seafood in the area, as it was voted best seafood in the area, by the way, for many years running.
Yeah, 2007 through 2019.
Yeah, so...
in the Westerly Sun Online Readers Poll.
Nice.
Oh, and we just were named in Yankee Magazine, national publication. We were named as having best fried clams in the Best of New England section. That just came out in July of this year. So that was a nice feather in our cap, very unexpected. And we were very happy to receive that. And in ending, I do want to stress that, too. All the seafood that we serve is sustainable. In keeping with what we do for the environment. We do not use endangered fish stocks such as cod or anything like that. All our seafood is wild caught and not farmed, and we serve everything that is locally sourced and fresh.
Amazing. Everything about this place is amazing, and you're an amazing man, and I love getting down here and talking to you, and I just also want to talk about how beautiful it is to stand out on this deck, and you have the beach in front of you, and the fresh air. You can see the drive-in space and the kids going down the water slides and people playing at the park, and it's just a wonderful atmosphere, and it's so lively and awesome. And it's the morning right now before things really get buzzed.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word. Bustling.
Bustling before everyone starts to comes down. It can be quite chaotic. It's definitely a great place to come people watch and enjoy the nature at the same time. It's great.
So, all right. Thank you very much, Tim.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Your thoughts on what you heard?
Hello.
Hi, I'm Ben Barber.
Hey,
Nice
Ben.
to meet you, Senator.
Nice to meet you.
Thoughts on what you heard today with regard to the various efforts that are occurring in Westerly and
It's
here?
stunningly impressive. And the fact that so many different parts of the community have come together to make it happen by common agreement is super impressive. And it shows how much Westerly loves and values its very special seashore. There's been a lot of taking that has been done from shores and seas over the years, and it's nice to see a community so committed to giving back.
Did you say that you were involved with a bill or some effort to provide money for this part of Rhode Island?
We just cleared unanimously through the Environment and Public Works Committee the latest highway bill, which for the first time has a climate change title in it. And it has a big section specifically dedicated to coastal infrastructure at risk from sea level rise and storm surge.
Okay.
And witness Atlantic Avenue here is the perfect exemplar. Matunic Road, Matunic Beach Road, those were the types of places we were thinking of when we designed it. It still has to pass the Senate, still has to pass Congress, and it's got to get to USDOT for them to implement it and then for the money to start to flow. But with any luck, there'll be some very significant resources to help coastal communities like Westerly with these new risks that they have to deal with and the new obligations that come with those risks.
Is this your second stop in Westerly today? Or are you...
Third,
Oh,
we stopped at the hospital. We stopped at Thirsty Gull with the Chamber of Commerce, and then we stopped here with the coastal folks.
okay. And you're going to the Ocean House, is that correct?
Ocean House to Luxuriate. Who are we meeting there?
Meeting with the town manager.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Senator, for coming down. This was fantastic.
We're doing it. It's. I've been here during some grim times when people were digging out after Sandy, and it's nice to see now everything's so nice and busy, even on a grayish day.
How do you feel about the fact that, as Tim said, like Superstorm Sandy was kind of the thing that kicked off this eco initiative and really focusing on the sustainable everything here? How do you feel about the fact that this was kind of a response to a climate change catastrophe.
Yeah, it's kind of a wake-up call when these things happen, and it does, I think, prompt people of goodwill to do more and better. And to see people of goodwill in Westerly do so much more and so much better is really thrilling. I think you guys are setting a standard for the entire state and maybe the Northeast coast. This is really, really impressive.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and have a safe trip.
Thank you.
For more information on the events and businesses in Misquamicut Beach, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and at Misquamicut.org.